now's your chance to get an absolutely beautiful hardcover that features the most awesome bonus content that I've ever done for a book.
I like the most bonus content.
Most bonus awesome. That's what we should do on the we should be like the most bonus awesome. Hey, I'm Soman.
And I'm June.
And welcome to another hotel edition of EverNever TV. These hotel editions are going to be numbered because I have bought an apartment in New York City that will be ready in October.
So you're going to still be splitting time in St. Louis?
I'll be in St. Louis and on the goat farm more than half time.
So it's like the same thing, but you're going to have a permanent,
we're going to have a place.
EverNever TV base.
Things have been quieter than usual because I've been working on a completely, wildly different book.
It's so epic. I can't wait till we can talk about it.
I know. The whole point of it is that I'm trying to raise the consciousness of youth and make them smarter, better people so that they do more important things with their lives.
So if you say that, they're not going to listen to you.
It's a very ambitious book. I'm trying to change the world. Anyway, we did announce that I'm doing a short story for DC Comics. It's an anthology called Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun. We'll have more details about my story and all. June had to get me up to speed on DC lore because I was given a character that I knew nothing about. Did you know anything about this character?
Very minimal until the research phase.
So it is a story written by me while I'm standing on top of June balancing all the info. Also in September, the collector's edition of The School for Good and Evil comes out, a beautiful hardcover edition that you're going to want for your library forever that features the most awesome bonus content. It's an interview with your favorite characters about their first year. So after the end of book 6, they're looking back as to what they thought of their first year and a lot of the secrets behind the scenes of that first year. So it's for those of you who've read the whole series, it's an amazing kind of exercise in nostalgia. For those of you who are just starting the series, it's a good way to motivate yourselves to read the rest of it so you can get this extra piece of bonus content. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. What were your thoughts?
Can you tell us anything about who's going to show up to this interview?
I mean, it's just supposed to be purely Tedros and Agatha, and it's pure 100% dialogue and an interview with them. But if you have Tedros and Agatha, someone's going to not be happy that they're not included in this interview, and I don't think she will allow the interview to continue to its conclusion without an appearance.
So is this actually happening 10 years later?
No. So originally I was going to do 10 years later. Like what was going to happen 10 years later. And then I was like, well, suppose I want to do my racy X-rated 50 Shades of Grey version of School for Good and Evil. And then I can't do that if I reveal all my secrets 10 years later. So I was like, well, why don't we just do them looking back at their first year? Because this is the first book and we need something relevant to the collector's edition of the first book. And so if they are offering commentary on what they thought was important about that first year and things we might not have known. Those of you who've read Rise and Fall will also get secret details on that too. So I tried to make sure that I put in details that encompass the entire world, whether you've read just the first book or all 6 books and the 2 prequels. Speaking of which, All the School for Good and Evil has been on the New York Times bestseller list now for 7 weeks, which is very long, and it really is one of the most successful books in the series. So I want to thank all of you for loving it so much and being such great readers.
Kind of ironic. It's called Fall, the School for Good and
I
Evil.
know. Normally you're supposed to go out with a whimper, like the series are supposed to have like a, and this one's just
the
like
death of School for Good and Evil.
I know, that's what it's
The
supposed
most
to be, and
successful.
that's the most successful. So I'm just like, okay.
Bonus content.
Bonus
content for the SGE Collector's Edition.
Okay. It was difficult to write because they are older now, right? And so they're looking back at their first year and they have a very different maturity levels. They have very different ways of being. First year Agatha is very different than post-book 6 Agatha, which is why when you read that Princess Club fan fiction short story I wrote, she has such a different feel than she did in book 1 because she's grown so much. She's no longer the graveyard girl, but at the same time she has elements of that girl as well. So to me, recapturing the characters in the right way to be able to have them comment on book 1, but have the maturity and wisdom from post-book 6 is a difficult challenge, but I really loved this interview and this bonus content. So I think those of you who love The School for Good and Evil and the characters will really have an emotional experience reading it.
You ended up not picturing them 10 years in the future, but if you did, what would a mature School for Good and Evil be like?
I mean, that's really interesting because like I read Cursed Child and saw the play or whatever it was, and I think seeing them as full adults with kids and all that is quite boring. because you don't get the youthfulness anymore. Like, they're responsible adults and there's not much room for kind of mischief and romance and hijinks and stuff. So I think what's more interesting is when they're 20, 21, 22, 23, at that age where everything is still possible. So that to me is the more interesting age. And it speaks to this idea of dark academia because that's where you can get into that sort of element where more sinister things can happen than can happen in middle grade or YA or whatever School for Good and Evil is.
Can you talk a little bit more about dark academia? Because School for Good and Evil, it does have lots
of
elements.
It has elements of dark academia, but to me, dark academia is where you go to a school that goes a little off the rails and you end up in the dark underbelly of human nature. I think you have to be in college for it to work because there's a lot of violence and sexual undertones to dark academia that you couldn't do in books for younger kids. That said, I love the genre. Secret History was the one that I think invented it, by Donna Tartt. I read it when it came out and I read it every few years. It's a huge guiding force for me. She's one of my favorite writers and I've learned so many things about writing from reading her books. School for Good and Evil, at heart, has elements of it. I just can't go completely unhinged because it's for a younger audience, but you feel it when you watch the movie and when you read the books.
Yeah.
That it's in there. Let's put it this way. It's the gateway to dark academia, right? For younger readers who've read School for Good and Evil and older readers who've read School for Good and Evil, there's no question they will end up reading Magician, Secret History, If We Were Villains, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I mean, like, these are all the classics that everyone are reading of that genre right now. Because we all love school, and especially if you're smart, sometimes you feel like there's a whole other version of school that would be interesting to explore where the smart kids are in charge. And I think that's kind of one of the elements of dark academia, is that the smart kids are not necessarily the popular kids, but they're the ones making everything happen.
When you started that sentence, I was like, how is Soman going to finish this?
I mean, that's that should be on every book I ever write. That should be the blurb from you.
Thank you for that. All right, guys. Remember to pre-order the collector's edition. You're going to get this amazing interview with Agatha Tedros and maybe a surprise guest.
And it's beautiful. The cover is gorgeous. It has a reversible full color map as the jacket. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.